Hello Steelers, and welcome to this game of Rommel. This is going to be a solo game. I've been meaning to play Rommel for a long time, and I have done a review of it, which by the time this video comes out should have already been out anyway, probably the week before this, the way I schedule things. So I thought what I'll do is I'll put my money where my mouth is. If I've reviewed it, let's play the game, show you how it plays. It's been a long time since I've actually played Rommel, and the last time I played it it was two of us playing it. I'm going to recreate that game. This is actually the southern sector of the Kursk salient, 5th July 1943, with the Germans attacking. I think, let me just remember, it's the Großdeutschland 11th and 3rd Panzer Divisions attacking against the southern area of Kursk itself. Now, interestingly, we've been playing this campaign itself, but in chain of command with decks, and it's been a lot of fun. So it's nice to actually come all the way out to a much higher level of gaming, which Rommel is basically, and it is the great battles, and it fits perfectly well for the Eastern Front because of the huge areas that some of those battles covered. And you know, it's I'd forgotten actually how much of a good game it is. There's quite a few things I would change in Rommel, just, you know, bits and pieces here and there, but overall I think it's a fantastic game, and it really makes up for you can play this in an evening quite easily if two of you know the rules. It's pretty simple to play and flows quite well. I've made a few changes here and there just for the solo gaming. For those familiar with the game, you'll probably see those. I am going to make mistakes because I've not played this for a while, so bear with me. There'll be things that I forget as we go through the game, so don't worry about it. Just enjoy the narrative of the game. You know, generally when I edit these videos, I see when I've done things wrong, so don't worry about it. I do know when I've done stuff wrong, but I've changed a few things, such as the card play in it, or the ops in fact in it, is kind of done invisibly, so you don't know what your opponent is going to play. I've done it on a dice roll. You basically roll for each unit to see if they choose any tactics in that particular action. You'll see how that plays out in the game itself as the game goes on, but hopefully it should work. Anyway, enough chat from me. I'll show you the table, show you the forces involved, and we'll get on with this game and see if the Germans can break through at Kursk. So this is our table looking across the Soviet lines. As you can see here, I've grouped them into various units. The symbols that are on each of the bases are the different units. I just grabbed them from various guards units and things, so they don't actually match. They're not specifically strictly 1943, but they do. It's just so I don't have to have numbers or anything on the bases. So the Soviets are spread all the way across here, as you can see. So we have here, this is the first town that the Soviets are defending. This is Gersovska. Then we have at the back over here we have Cheskoya, and then finally over here we have Butova. So that is on the Soviets left hand side, and then on this side of the table we got the Germans. So again, once again, we've got the different units here. You can see their markings on their bases as well. We have the central one here. That's a Großdeutschland, I think, and then we've got the Tigers there, and then a further unit over on that last flank there as well. You can also see the hammer and sickles as well. These are the objective points. The Germans already start with one. They've got to hold that. Meanwhile, they've got to capture two more. So there's one here in the front line. We also have another one here just behind. There is a further one over here in the soft ground over here. And then the final last one is actually down here, just to signify the breakthrough of the Germans if they actually manage to do that. I've also, as well, I've done the ops. They are done as cards. So here, just to show you quickly, these are I use tokens to show how many ops each side has. The Soviets starting with 3, the Germans are starting with 6, and then we have these. I basically play the cards because it just means I can remember what is there. So we've got the offense cards here, we've got the defense cards here, event cards, and then general cards here, and the EML just tells you which part of the war they belong to, so early, mid or late. And this is how I play it. This is how I play Rommel, rather than using the big ops files that come with the game. I just basically play the cards, and then once the card is played, it goes to one side until the ops are reset. Right, enough of that. You'll see how this works. We're going to start with the Germans and let's get this game going. Okay, first thing we do is we work out how many ops we've got. This is the Germans, so we roll these. Any ones are discarded, otherwise they get ops for them. So we've actually discarded 2 there, so they only get 4 ops. 1, 2, 3, 4. They didn't reset their ops file, so they get 4. However, they can only have a maximum of 10. They've already got 6, so they get another 4, which I've got there. So I'm just going to put those together with the other ops. So the Germans are spending 1 op to basically get their units moving forward. So this is going to be their first tactical phase. We're not using any road movements first of all. So foot units may only move 1 square, so we're just going to move these ones up to here, 1, 2 to there. Vehicles may move 2. So let's get these tigers up, get them straight into the action here as quick as we possibly can, I guess. We've also got panthers here. Now if panthers move more than 1 square, because they are mechanically unreliable, I have to roll the dice, and then a 6 they take a hit basically. So we're actually going to move those panthers up to 1 because I've got a reason for this. Then we've got motorized over here, so I'm going to be zooming these up as well. Let's get these into the fight. And then we've got some more panthers here with Panzer IVs, so I'm just going to move these up slower. I could put the Panzer IVs further forward, but I'm not going to. And then I've also got some more motorized. These I'm going to bring these up like this here, and then we've also just got some foot over here, so I'm going to bring those up just quickly, just get those out of the way. Now to continue on this turn, if I wanted to, I could invoke a second tactical phase, because that was the first one. It would cost me 2 more ops as the Germans, and I think we're going to, because I want to get them into battle as soon as possible. So let's just do these. I'm going to get these in here, he's in here, these up here, these guys up to here. We want to get straight into the fight as quick as possible. So let's have a look, and then we're actually going to start to attack as well here. The first attack I know is not going to go well, because it's just not going to go well, because it never does, but I'm going to attack from here, these units into here. Now I'm just using these red markers just to show who has attacked. Also, one other thing as well I really should do is I should just mark who has actually moved in this particular phase. So I'm just going to shove these on here just to show who is activated, so I know, because sometimes I forget with these things. I'm going to push up the Panthers and the Panzer IVs. Now I can't put the Panzer IVs and the Panthers into this attack because your stacking limit is 3. There's 3 in there, there's 3 here, so we're going to be attacking with those. However, I'm going to push these into here as well as part of this attack. So I'm just going to put these markers down once again just to show who has done what. Let me just mark off the units that I know have done something, so when it comes to it I'll just clear these points off just so I know what's happened. I've got these are just going to move up. Again, they're the Panthers and the Panzer IVs. I don't want them to start taking hits, because as well the Panthers are also rare, so they can't actually reorganize either. Now we've got the Tigers over here. Let's just push them in, because why not? It'd be crazy not to, I think. It's the hard hitting, and then what we'll do is we'll go through the combat of each of these, and we'll see if anybody does any uses any tactics in any of these games. So finally, let's just stick those on there, and then finally I'm just going to move these guys forward as well, put these ones into the wood on the flank, and that will do for now. So what we'll do is the combat. So we've got the first attack of the game here going in. We've got the Germans attacking in with these motorized units. They're also going to be using a barrage as well. It's just off table. They are playing an offense tactic for mass target. It says if there are 3 defending units, double the barrage value of 1 artillery unit, and it costs 1, so it costs 1 of their ops. And then we've discarded that card, that goes to so it can come back in later on. So that turns their barrage from 3 to 6. The Soviets, now what we do is for these, because there's 3 units in there, potentially they may want to use tactics themselves, defensive tactics. So we roll our dice, 4 up, and they do use them. 2 of them want to use defensive tactics. If they have 1 or less ops to play with, then they don't use them, because they'll need those for the next turn. They've always got to carry at least 1 over. So they've got 2 there. So what we do is we draw 2 cards. If they can't use them, So I've got these two. These are the defense tactics. If they can't use them for whatever reason, you know, there's something, then they won't spend those ops, but there's potential for them to use two tactics here. So this just gives me a blind to play against. First one, political officer. One defending Soviet infantry unit may double its combat value. No Soviet units may evade from this combat. So that's one, and that has cost them one. Then our second one is General Recce. Your side shoots first in this combat, so they get to play that as well, so that will then also cost them one as well. So they've used up two of theirs. Now they won't be using any tactics in any other of the fights to come, so but it means that they get to shoot first. But it says it's negated by enemy Recce. So what we do here is then we basically roll 1d6 for the Soviets first, and then that effect carries on to the Germans in their turn. So we add up their combat value, 4, 4 and 4, so that is 12. One of those is doubled, so that adds us another 4, so that becomes 16 in total. So we roll our dice and then we check on the damage dice. It's a 1, 16 is here, so that is actually 2 hits on the Germans, and we spread those across them first of all. So a 4 user takes a hit, and then the 5 there, they take a hit as well. Now the Germans get to fire back because they didn't use Recce, but they're using that mass target because there's 3 Soviet units in that square, so it doubles it to 6. They then also have 4, so that's 10 plus 5, 15 plus 3, 18 in total. This is not going to dislodge the Soviets here, but it might do them some damage. So we've got 18. Roll a German dice. So 1 is, again, that's only 2 hits. You go up the combat grid as far as the number is you, or less than the number of your combat value is. In this case it's 16, so it's 2 hits, and there's no shifts up and down. So 2 Soviet infantry take hits. So those 2 guys there, they spread out the hits, and then we take off these combat markers to show this one. And then the Germans are going to have to retreat back into this square, and then they are then tipped until the start of their next turn, unless they spend ops on untipping them. And then we take all these cards here, discard them. Okay, we're in our next combat, so we've got these 3 motorized units going in against Soviet infantry, and these are actually on one of the objectives, so this is going to be quite an important fight. They'll probably maybe drive in their tanks as well next turn, but let's just see what happens. They are using this time airstrike, so this is an offense. It costs 1, so we'll get rid of that. Attacker gets 1 shift up, so that's going to be basically a +1 on the roll on the grid. Clear weather only, not permitted in woods. They're not in the woods, it is clear weather. Soviets are not going to be doing any tactics because they've only got 1 op left, and I said once they're down to that point they won't be spending them. So we just roll straight dice. First of all, work out the combat values. The Germans have got 4 and 4, so 8 plus 3, so that's 13. They don't have any artillery in this one because it's already been fired in the previous attack. Soviets have got 4, 4, 4, so that is 12. So what we do is we roll our 2 dice, black for the Germans, red for the Soviets, and what did we say? We got 13 for the Germans, and they've scored a 2. So we go up. So it's only a 9, but because of their airstrike, that goes up 1. So that gives them 2 hits instead of the 1 that they had. So 4 have been hit there. Soviets on the other hand have got a 3, and they did have 12. So we go up the next one, they've only scored 2 hits as well. So we'll take those on the 4 here and the 4 there for the Germans. Once again, the Germans, because the Soviets haven't been cleared out of that square, the Germans are then tipped. The thing is with Rommel, it is an attritional game. And it takes a while to break a square, so I don't think that square is going to get cleared out for at least another 2 attacks. Then our next combat is the Tigers, the 506. These are going in here. They're not using any tactics because the Germans are down to 3 ops, and I'm wanting to spend those on another tactical phase this turn to get them to do one more thing. So they're attacking in against the Soviets. These are the SUs, I think. These are the SUs, and there's a couple of KVs at the back there as well. So what we've got here is, this is an armour attack, so we basically choose an armour lead for each of the sides, so it doesn't really matter at this point. So the Germans are just going to be here, the Soviet one is there. We then check the armour rating of the highest, the the armour unit that is going in, and this is a 6 for the Germans and a 3 for the Soviets. So the Germans' armour rating is higher, or your armoured rating is higher, so they will score 1 extra hit if they score at least 1 hit on the Soviets. So it's basically they've got the armour advantage, but we're attacking dead set. The Soviets won't be going for any tactics as well, because they again only have that 1 op. So we roll the dice. The Germans have got 15 of their combat value, the Soviets have got 9, so this should be interesting depending on the dice roll. Let's have a look. So the Germans roll a 6, which is good for their Tigers. Soviets have rolled a 4. So let's have a look at the Tigers. We got 15 and they've rolled a 6, so we go up until we hit it, and this is a 14 there. So we've actually scored 4 hits. That actually becomes 5 hits because of that armour advantage. So everybody gets a hit. It's just like getting a car, and then those other 2 hits are then also spread out amongst others. At this point it doesn't really matter which ones they are because they're all the same. Then the Soviets, they rolled a 4 and they had 9, so we go up and they have caused 2 hits on those Tigers. So as you would expect, Tigers going in against T-34, well, not T-34s, these are SUs, will have that kind of effect. So they come off. However, the Germans haven't cleared that square, so they are then tipped until the start of their turn. So the Germans have spent another 3 ops to get a 3rd tactical phase. Every time you get a tactical phase, it costs more. So the 4th one would cost 4. They don't have enough for that, so they're basically spent up, because I'm trying to maintain the momentum of the attack. So they're going to be attacking over here as well, but we're starting off over here with their infantry, and these are just going to move up. What I'm actually going to do as well is I'm also going to move these forward onto the flank of the Soviets there, ready for an attack at some point in the future. I'm going to try to outflank them. So first of all, we're going to attack here. So we've got, for the Germans, we've got 12. This is not going to go particularly well because it's 12 versus 12, but the Germans have got to do something really just to start grinding those Soviets. So we got a 2 for the Germans and a 3 for the Soviets. We check on a 2 for the Germans. They've got 12 in total, so they've scored 1 hit on the Soviets, so we'll just cross one of those off. And then the Soviets on the 3, they've actually scored 2 hits on the Germans. So the Germans took that a bit worse there. But as I say, the point here is to start grinding down, because they do have these ones on the flank now to do some attacking next turn. Then meanwhile over here we're going to send in the Panthers and the Panzer IVs, and they're going to pile into those SUs there and try and finish them off if that's the case. So we've got so basically the armour advantages for the Germans. They've got 5 against their 3, so they hopefully will cause an extra hit on those Soviets. They've just got to basically wipe them out if they can. But let's have a look. We've got 5 and 5 and 5, so that's 15 for the Germans. The Soviets are very badly damaged, so they've got a 2, a 1 and a 1. So basically 15 against 4. So let's just see what we get. Soviets have rolled a 2. Let's do this. First of all, 0 to 8 is nothing, so they get no hits for that. The Germans have rolled a 3, and we said they've got 15, so that is 2 hits, but that actually becomes 3 hits in total because of that armour advantage. But it doesn't actually clear out the Soviets. It kills those 2 units because... So that's 1, 2, 3 hits. They needed 4 to absolutely clear that square, but they have destroyed 2 Soviets at least, first 2 units, but then they are now tipped as well. Now the problem with being tipped is you are very disadvantaged, so the Soviets may mount a counter-attack in their turn, but let's see what happens with the last fighting of the Germans' turn. So we've got this last round of fighting, so we've got Soviet tanks once again going in against the infantry. Now they actually get tank shock, so the Soviets are reduced by 1 when they roll their dice. They come down 1, they get shift down. They got 15 going against 3, 3 and 4, so that's 10 in total, but the Soviets will be reducing that. So let's just roll our dice, see what we get. So a 4 and a 3. So for the Germans, they scored a 4 and they've got 15 in there, so that is actually 3 hits on those Soviets. So let's just get those so that everybody takes 1, 1, 2, 3. So once again, it doesn't clear the square, but it does give them some bad damage. The Soviets scored a 3. And we said they had 10 in total, so that's only 1 hit. However, because they've got tank shock, that drops down to 0 hits, so they don't score any hits on the Germans. So the Germans are there softening them up, and I think next turn there might not be many Soviets left in that square, but we'll see what the Soviets do. Apologies, I thought that was the last German attack. It isn't, it's this one here. These guys are going in near Butova, so we've got 4 units. They are also using a barrage as well, so that's going to add 3 to theirs, because I forgot to do it in the previous one, but never mind. So they've got 4 and 4 and 4, so that's 12, plus the barrage is 15 against 4, 4 and 4, so 15 against 12. Let's have a look. So the Germans have scored a 1 with 15, so that is only 1 hit. The Soviets have scored a 5 with 12, that is 3 hits. So the Germans have taken 1 hit each, the Soviets, only one of them has taken 1 hit, so we'll just cause that there. So we've got 1, 2 and then 3 for those Germans. So that does end the Germans' turn. So the Soviets have currently got 1 up, so they are not resetting though. They've only used up 2 of their tactics, so we're going to roll to see what they get. Any 1s are ignored, so we've got 2 1s, so they get 4 ops, so that takes them up to 5 in total. So before the Soviets go any further, they're actually going to play 2 of their events. So the first one is all workers to the front, costs them 2 ops, and they can place up to 6 prepared positions, no more than 2 per square. So I'll do those just off camera. And then the other one is surprise attack. Choose 1 square in which one of the enemy may not play any tactics during the first tactical phase of this turn. So that is going to be, I'll choose which one they are going to pile into, because they're probably going to do some counter attacking, I think. So the Soviets have thrown up defences. They've got some here, they've got some elsewhere across the rest of the board as well. They put 6 out on the units that they don't want to move. Defences basically soak up hits. The first hit, it always goes on the defence. Now, I forgot, actually the Germans are only down to 1 op, so they wouldn't be using tactics anyway, so it was a waste of time using that, the Soviet surprise attack. So in this case, they're just using smoke instead. I've swapped it out, it's the same cost, and the defender gets 1 shift down. Basically that's what it is, but they're still using the massed target offence as well as another tactics, because they're firing artillery into this attack, and then they're attacking with these motorised units over here as well, also supported by a couple of Su-76s as well. So the Germans are going to get 2 shifts down, 1 because of smoke, and 2nd because of tank shock as well. So it's not going to look very good for these Germans here. So we're both rolling up. Let's just see where we go. We've got 4 and 4 for the motorised units, and then also another 3, so that's 8, 11, plus 3 for that artillery as well. Well, actually plus 6 for that artillery as well, so that's 17 for the Soviets, against 3, 3, 3, 9 for the Germans. So let's see what we get, and those Germans get those shifts as well. Not looking good for the Germans, but let's have a look. We got a 5 for the Soviets, and what did we say we had? We had 17, I think. Well, 4 and 4, 8. 8 and 6 is 11, plus 6 is 17. So actually that's 4 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4 hits on the Germans. So that has given them some damage. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4 has to go on another one. So that takes them off there. So that's the first German loss. The Soviets have mounted that counter attack. Then the Germans, they roll a 1, and they started with 9, so that's 0 anyway, and then they got those 2, they got tank shock, and also they got the smoke as well, so the 2 shifts down becomes 0. So no hits scored on the Soviets, but they haven't actually gone into that unit, so they've just retreated back to the square that they attacked out of. Okay, over here we've got a Soviet counter-attack against these Tigers. The Tigers are tipped, so they are actually halving their score, their combat score in this case, so it's a good time to do it, really. So we got, and the Soviets are using up their last op as well for reserve artillery, so this costs them 1, and the attacker gets to shift up, so they are attacking, and only in the first tactical phase of the turn, and it is the only first tactical phase. So they're attacking with a strength of 9 with that shift up. The Germans, on the other hand, have got a strength of 13, but we half it and then round up. So 13 halved is actually 7 rather than 13. So this could be quite good for the Soviets. Let's have a look. They're trying to cause as much damage as possible here. Mind you, they've got a 3, and we said they got a 9, so that only causes 1 damage, but they do have the reserve artillery, takes them up to 2 hits. So 2 hits on those Germans, 1 and then 2, and then they have, we said they've got 5 and 8 is 13, halved is 7, and they've rolled a 5 with their 7, so they've actually still caused 2 hits on those Soviets. So, not a great outcome for the Soviets there, but you've got to counter-attack, otherwise they're just going to run all over you. Well, first of all, the Germans have got no ops at the moment, so they need everything they can get from this. Let's see, any ones are ignored. Well, there you go, that's 6 ops. That's the best they could get at this point, so we'll put those together. Then I will untip all of their units. That's the next thing, so they're in the untip phase at this point, so we're resetting, and then we'll go on to spend 1 op just to activate the first tactical phase, and I'll see what they're going to do from that. So the Germans are doing a huge sweep of attacks here. The Soviets have got no ops left, so the Germans aren't going to be using any tactics in any of theirs, just because there's no point, because the Soviets can't use them. They want to save their ops for potentially more tactical turns in the future. First one is this attack against the Soviet tanks here, which are tipped, so they're going to be attacking with the Tigers into those T-34s and KVs, and they've got 8 and 4 is 13. 8 and 5 is 13. The Soviets have got 4 and 3 is 7, but they half that and round it up because they are tipped. So that means they are on 4. So let's roll our dice, see what happens. This will come out well for the Germans. Maybe not though. 1 and 1. The Germans, we said, are on 13, so they cause 1 hit. They do have the tank advantage, so they cause 1 hit, so that's actually 2 hits on the Soviets. So I'll just put them both on there, it doesn't really matter. The Soviets, on the other hand, have caused 1 hit, well, rolled a 1. They have less than 11, so that has caused no damage whatsoever on those Tigers, but it has tipped them to this point here. Then we have another German attack here on the flank, and these are going in against the Soviets. They don't get a flanking attack for it because you don't really count it unless you're around them and not in any zone of control. So I'm not going to explain it here, but basically they don't get a flanking attack here. But we do have 12, and they are also using their artillery this time, because I forgot last time. 15 in total for the Germans against the Soviets 11. So 15 against 11. The Soviets have got this prepared defense, so the first hit will be absorbed by the prepared defense. So let's just see what we get anyway. So 6 and 6. So the Germans, we said 15, so that is actually 4 hits. So as I say, the first hit always goes onto the prepared defense, and then they take 3 hits across the rest of those units. 1, 2, 3. Soviets, on the other hand, they had 11, so they only cause 3 hits on the Germans, but the Germans do take 1, 2 and 3 hits, and then that cleared off, and then those Germans are tipped as well. Right, in the central position we've got all these attacks here as well that are going on. So we've got 1, 2, 3 and 4. I've got another one on that right flank, but I'll do all these 4 here together at this point. Once again, the Germans are not using any tactics, they're just going to go in with the normal attack to see what happens. First one is just against this one Soviet tank unit here. They've got 5 and 5 and 5, so that's 15. They've got the armour advantage against the Soviet 1. If that Soviet tank is still there after this, I will be very upset. But let's just have a look. 5 for the Germans, 6 for the Soviets. We said 15 for those Germans. So that is 3 hits, 4 because of the tank advantage, armoured advantage. Soviets, however, have caused 6, which is at least 1 hit on the Germans, but they have finally cleared out those hits. I'm going to take that hit on the Panzer IVs because that means that they are able to reorganise. Soviet unit is gone, and then the Germans will occupy that unit, but also will be tipped after fighting. So they've at least pushed forward and broken the line at this point. Now we've got another grind here against these Soviets who are in cover, and I'm actually going to use an artillery against them, so that's going to fire. So we've got 3 and 3 is 6, plus 5 is 11, plus 3 is 14 for the Germans against 2, 4 and 3 is 7 for the Soviets with that protection. So let's have a look. The Germans have scored a 3, Soviets have scored a 1. Soviets, first of all, will do theirs 1, and we said they got 2 for 7. So they have scored no hits whatsoever on the Germans. However, the Germans with their 11 have scored 2 hits. The first one of those is going to be absorbed by a prepared position, and then the second hit will fall on this unit here. There's still a prepared position in there, so that takes that off. Soviets are really holding that that square in the centre there. Right, so that's tipped to those units. Now we've got our next one over here. So that's these guys over here. These are attacking with 555. These are armour against infantry in the open. So they have got tank shock. So that's going to drop the Soviets anyway. So they've got a armour strength of 3 and 3 is 6. Sorry, a combat strength of 3 and 3 and 6. So 10 for the Soviets, 15 for the Germans. But the Soviets have got tank shock as well, and along with. But there is a 2 prepared positions in there. So let's just 1 and 1. Germans with their 15 have scored 1 hit, so that's just one of the prepared defences. The Soviets over there with their with their 10 has scored a 9. So well, a 1 hit. So no, sorry, completely wrong. 1 on 1, nothing, no hits. So no effect on either side apart from removing a bit of that defence. Then finally in this central section we've got this attack going in against those Soviet motorised units over there. Soviets have got 4 and 4 and 3, so that's 8, 11. The Germans here have got 5 and 7, so that's 12. 12 against 8, and we've got no artillery firing here. 12 against 8, so for the Germans 5 with 12 is 3 hits on the Soviets. Soviets are 4 with, what did we say, 8, wasn't it? I think it was, no, 8 and 8, 11, sorry, is 2 hits on the Germans. So the Germans are once again tipped, but with 2 hits on them, 1, 2, and the Soviets with 3 hits on them. Sorry, I forgot those Soviets were actually tipped, so they halved their number, so they only caused 1 hit instead of what I thought it was. So we've got the German attack here, we've got 12 plus their artillery is firing as well, so that becomes 15 in total against the Soviets, who are dug in again with 11. So 15 v 11. So look, Soviets have got 5, Germans have got a 2. The Germans with their 15 have scored 2 hits. First hit is on the defences, so they are proving useful. And meanwhile the Soviets have got a 5 with their 11, so that's 3 hits on those Germans, and they are also tipped. I'm not sure how foolhardy this will be, but the Germans have paid for a second tactical phase, and also they've untipped this motorised unit here plus the artillery supporting them to attack into here again. There's a couple, there's another attack as well on the flank, but I'll do that in a second. So we're going to attack with these. They were the ones that were untipped previously. So we've got these. First of all, we've got 3 and 3 and 6 plus 5, 11 plus 3 is 14 for the Germans against 2, 4, 6 for the Soviets, but they are in defences. They're going to need 4 hits here, the Germans, to destroy this Soviet square. But let's just see what happens. We've got 5 against a 5. So the Germans, first of all, have got 11, I said, plus 3 is 14 in total, and they rolled a 5. So that is 1, 2, 3 hits. They really should have gone for a tactic there. So they scored 1 hit on the actual armour itself, on the defences itself, and then they've also killed 3 hits. 1, 2, 3. So they've killed 2 units, but the Soviets are tenaciously holding on in there. Soviets, we said they'd got 6 in total for their units there, and they've rolled a 5. So they have actually scored 2 hits on the Germans there. Was it worth it? Possibly, I don't know. Only time will tell. But it has once again tipped those German units. So maybe it's time for a Soviet counter-attack to see if they can destroy those German units that are there at this point. So the final German attack over here, as you can see, attacking is quite expensive, really, and just, well, pushing up on your in areas is quite expensive just from an ops point of view. But we've got the Germans here attacking here. So they've got in total 6 and 4 is 10 against Soviets of 6 and 2 is 8. So let's see what we get. I don't think the Germans are going to win here. They need 5 hits to do so. No, they're definitely not with that. They've got a 2 against the Soviets, 5. So the Germans, we said they've got 10 in total on a roll of a 2, is only 1 hit on the Soviets. Meanwhile, the Soviets have got a 6, 7, 8 on a roll of a 5 is 2 hits. So 2 hits on the Germans, and they are once again tipped as well. But that will end the Germans' turn. They've got no more ops to spend, so it's the end of their turn. So the Soviets have got no ops at the moment, but they're not resetting, so we're just going to roll our dice. Oh, look at that, loads of 6s. Not a single 1, so they've got 6 ops, which is pretty good because they are going to spend 1 as a tactical, for a tactical phase first of all, but they might have a couple of events to play as well. So I'm just going to have a look through and then see what happens. Well, first of all, actually, whilst I'm here, I'm going to have a look at the Motherland Calls. It's an event, cost 1. So we basically spend 1, however it immediately places 5 ops in your file. You do not have to roll them first, so they immediately get 5 back, so that takes them up to 10 instead of what they had, so that's going to be a good one. Can't use that again, that is done, unfortunately for them, but that's pretty useful I think at this point. So we've got a couple of attacks here against German units that are tipped. First one over here is this armour is attacking over here. Then we've got some fresh armour that are pushed in from behind the trees, and they're attacking there as well against tipped Germans. So it should be okay-ish. Not using any tactics. The Germans don't have any ops, so they can't use any anyway. So there's not much point, so we're just going to basically attack with what we've got, because I want to keep the Soviet ops for possibly for either another turn or for their own ops defensively anyway. But anyway, let's just see. We've got first of all, we've got 4, 7 against Germans who have got 6, 8. So 7 for the Soviets against 8 for the Germans, but the Germans are in the open and they are also halved, so they're 4 and they are getting moved down as well because they are in the open. So 5 and 5. So the Soviets, we said they'd got 7 in total, so that is 2 hits on the Germans. Meanwhile, the Germans were on 4, so they have taken 1 hit, but tank shock causes no hits on the Germans, on the Soviets, but the Germans take 2 hits themselves. But it does tip those Soviet tanks, which is a bit dangerous because they've got some tigers on their tail almost. But this was the best target to go for, really, just to try to mash them up if they could. Then we've got this attack here, fresh units going in against just 1 damaged German one over here. So 14 for the Germans and 9 for the Soviets in this case. So let's just see what we get for these guys. The Germans are halved though, so they are on 8. The Soviets are on 9 still. But the Soviets have scored a 2, so that's 1 hit. However, they don't have armour advantage, so they only cause 1 hit on the Germans. The Germans, on the other hand, have rolled a 1, and we said they were on 8, so they score no hits, and because they score no hits, they don't get the armour advantage extra hit either, so they basically just tip the Soviets. So the Soviets got away with that quite lightly, I think. So over here we've got now Soviet more fresh tanks. These are Su-76s coming in against the Germans over here. So the Germans are going to have tank shock because they are motorised in the open, motorised infantry in the open. They're also tipped, so they're halving their score as combat score as well. The combat score is 7, 9, half of that rounded up is 5. Soviets have got 2, 4, 7 in total. With no artillery support, so 7 against 5 with tank shock. So look, 5 and a 4, 5 for the Soviets, and we said they'd got 9, so that is 2 hits on the Germans. The Germans, on the other hand, let's just cross those off. 1, 2. Germans, on the other hand, had got their 9 halved is 5 and tank shock, so 5 would be 1 hit, but they get shifted down because of tank shock, so they cause no hits whatsoever. But the Soviets, at least, well, are now tipped and potentially ready for attack as well. Well, the Soviets are mounting a pretty aggressive defence, aren't they, at this point? Right, so we've got another attack here going in here. These are not being supported by artillery. We've got another one here being supported by 2 artillery into the town itself. So we're going to do this one basically in the open. This is just motorised infantry with tanks, so they're going to get tank shock on those Germans. They've only got a strength of 4. They are not untipped, but they have only a strength of 4. The Soviets going in with 6, 7, 8 against 4, also causing tank shock. So let's have a look. We've got a 1 for the Soviets, so they've actually caused no hits whatsoever. The Germans, they've scored a 3, and they had 2 hit. They had 4 in total, shift down, so no hits there. So completely desultory attack there by both sides. Nothing came of that. However, over here we've got a different, maybe got a different story. So we've got the Germans, Soviets attacking with 10. Against the Germans 9, but the Soviets are attacking, sorry, not 10, 15 in total, because they've got artillery as well. The Germans, they're attacking into buildings, so they do get a shift down for that because they're attacking into urban. So 15 with a shift down against 9 on normal. So Germans have scored a 5, Soviets have scored a 1. We said a 15 is 12, becomes down to a 0 though, so no hits from the Soviets. The 5 for the Germans, defending on a 9, they've actually scored 2 hits on those Soviet attackers, so very desultory attacking over there. So it's still the Soviets' goal, and what they've done is they've paid for a second tactical phase, so that's cost them 2 ops. Then they've also untipped a couple of units as well, which I'll get onto. They've untipped these, the motorised units over here, and these are going to drive in and try to attack the Germans over here. They're untipped. They're untipped, so they're getting their full combat value, which is 4. But the Soviets are going in, and they've got 6, 8 in total. So they're hoping to at least cause 2 hits, because that will destroy those German units if that's the case, and then potentially start to isolate those units up there in the town. Let's have a look anyway. Soviets scored a 6, Germans have scored a 5, so the Soviets with their 6 and their 8 is 3 hits. That's enough to destroy those Germans, but how much have the Germans left? They've caused, they rolled a 5, and they have caused 1 hit on those Soviets. So let's just mark off 1 Soviet hit there, and destroyed those 2 units, and then they get to move into this square. Then the second Soviet counter-attack is against these motorised units here, I think 11th Panzer. So they've actually got 9 in total. These didn't need untipping, and these are infantry in the open, so they will get tank shock. So that will be a shift down for the Germans anyway. The Soviets need to score 3 hits here to destroy them. I don't know if they're going to do that. They've got 9 and they've scored a 3. So we look up the 3. That is only 1 hit, but it has destroyed 1 of the Germans. So let's just mark them off there. So that's those guys gone. However, the Germans had got 7 in total, and they've scored a 2. So they've actually scored no hits on the Soviets, but it bounces the Soviets back, and they are then tipped over there as well. So at least they got rid of 1 unit, if nothing else. I do keep forgetting about tipped units being half their strength. Never mind, it doesn't really make much difference. We've got this Soviet counter-attack coming in here from these fresh units. They've got, sorry, I've untipped these as well. I spent 3 ops on untipping those 3, so they've got 9 going in against the Germans there. They've got 8, 13, half that is 7 in total, because we round up, because they are tipped. So let's have a look. We've got 9 going in against 13. Soviets have scored a 6 against the Germans 5. So the 6 with 9 scores us 3 hits. So we'll take those off. 1, 2, 3. Everybody takes a hit. And the Germans have got a 5 with their, what do we say, 7. It wasn't 2 hits on the Soviets. So the Soviets have bounced back again. But they are slowly damaging those very good German tanks, and then they are now tipped as well. So let's see what the Germans get for their ops. They've got full 6, so that takes them back to 6. They are also going to be playing replacement battalion. If it's an event, cost 2, 1 use. Reorganise all the infantry units in 1 square, even if they're low in supply or isolated. So we basically reduce their hits by 1, and then I'll start untipping everybody. So the Germans have spent their first tactical phase. They are going for, they've done the reorganisation of one of the motorised units over on the centre. Over here on their left flank, they're sending in these Tigers again against these tipped Soviets over here. Hopefully they doubt they'll destroy them, but they will hopefully give them a good drubbing, if nothing else. So the Germans going in have got 8 and 5, so 13 in total against a Soviet defence here of 4 and 3 is 7. So let's have a look at what we've got. Soviets have rolled a 1, so that is 0 anyway. Well, sorry, 7 halved, it becomes 3, so 4. The Germans have got a 2. We said they've got 13, so they've actually only scored 1 hit on those Soviets, which wasn't as good as was expected from those Tigers, but they didn't take any hits themselves, but that has tipped those Tigers there. Then we've also got the Panthers and the Panzer IVs going in again against these ones up here. Soviets are tipped, so once again they've got 7. Half that becomes a 4. The Germans are attacking with 6, 10. So let's have a look at this one. Soviets got a 5, so that gives them, we said they got 4, so that's 1 hit on the Germans, so they take that there. Meanwhile, the Germans have scored a 1, and that's done nothing. So they've scored no hits at all on those Soviets. So pretty desultory fighting there, really. Then we've got one final attack over here from the Germans on the objective itself. They're using artillery for this one. So 3, 6, 9 plus the artillery is 12 against Soviets who are untipped against their 8. So let's just see what happens here. They won't shift them, I don't think, this time. Well, I don't know, 6. And we said they got 12, so that is 3 hits on those Soviets. There's only 2 of them there, so that's absorbed quite a lot of hits on those guys. And then they had an 8 with a 5, so that is 2 hits on the Germans, but they are held in place. Then in a central position we've got 2 combats here. We've got the motorised unit, which have just been reorganised. They're also using artillery to try to destroy this Soviet position here. And then we've got the the Panthers and the Panzer IVs going in against the T-34s here as well, the fresh ones. And I'm also chucking a couple of things for the tactics for the Germans. So these guys are using reserve artillery, and these guys are using smoke. So this means the defender shifts down 1 over here, the attacker gets a shift up, but it's only in the first tactical phase, which this is. So let's start with these guys anyway. We've got 10, 14 plus 3 from the artillery, 17 in total for the Germans against 3, 3 and 4 for the Soviets. So 10, what did we say? We've got 10, 14, 17 against 10. So let's roll those dice. Germans have scored high there, they've got a 6. They've got 17 in total, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. But they also get a shift up, so it's actually 5 hits on those Soviets. So that hasn't destroyed them, but it has. Well, it may take a couple out. Let's just have a look. We're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. And the first hit should be on those defences, so that's taken that out as well. It's not destroyed them, but it has got it close. So we got 4 for the Soviets defending, and they had 9 in total. So their 9 on a 4 is 2 hits on the Germans. So take one of those guys and one of those. So then we tip them, tip them, tip them, and that's spent that reserve artillery. We'll just stick that to one side so we know it's done. And then we've got over here the other attack here going in. This is without artillery support, but they are using smoke, so the defender is down by 1. So the Germans here have got a 15 combat attack against a 9 defence with a shift down. So 6 against 5. 15 is 4 hits against a defence of 9. That would be 2 hits, but down 1, so it's actually only 1 hit on the Germans. But how many did we say? 4 for the Soviets. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So that's given them a bit of a bloody nose, if nothing else. Is it worthwhile doing a second tactical phase and spending all of the remaining ops? They've got 2 left. Don't know, let me have a think about it. The Germans have spent their remaining 2 ops on trying and getting another tactical phase in, and they're attacking with these. They've only got 6, but they are only against 5 in total in there. So they need 3 hits, which I think basically they need a 5 or a 6 on their dice to actually cause those 3 hits to destroy those Soviets and capture that the objective there at least. So it's worth a try, I think. Let's have a look. Not with rolls like that, it isn't. 2 against a 5. So the Germans have got a 2, they've got 6, so that's 0, no hits. Meanwhile, the Soviets have got a 5, and they've got 5 in total. So they've actually caused 2 hits on the Germans, and 2 of the Germans have been destroyed in that attack. It was a gamble, and it didn't pay off, but it was worth a try, I think. So the Soviets seem to have blunted this German attack quite aggressively, actually. Aggressive defence seems to be the best policy for the Soviets. Anyway, they've only got 4 ops this time. They already had 1 from last time. So 5 in total. They're going to spend 1 on Mashkarova, which is an event. It costs 1. It's only 1 use. In his coming turn, the enemy discards new op dice rolls on a 1 to 3. So I'll just put that there to remind me that the Soviets have spent their op, and then they're going to spend another op just to invoke the tactical phase and see what they can do with it. So I'm starting over here on the Soviets' left flank. They are pushing back these German infantry here that were originally in the town, and they fell back because they didn't want to get isolated. And now the the Soviets are pushing in on them, and they've also got tank shock on them as well because they're attacking the open with vehicles. So let's have a look. Soviets have got 2, 4, 7 in total with that tank shock. The Germans have got 3, 6, 9. So the Germans have rolled a 6 though, and the Soviets have rolled a 1. Couldn't be worse, could it? What do we say? The Soviets have got 2, 4, 7. So that's scored no hits on the Germans. The Germans though have 9, but they are shifted down 1. So that would be 3, 2 hits in total. So the Soviets can at least absorb those hits, but they've scored nothing on the Germans. I thought that would have gone much better than it did. That said, we now have a massive Soviet counterattack in the centre, hopefully going to be doing some damage. So first guys, over here we've got these ones. These have been supported by artillery, so they've got 2, 4, 6, 8 in total against tipped Germans, which they have got 9, 12. So half that is 6. So let's see what goes on here. So 5 for the Soviets, and we said they've got 2, 4, 6, 8 in total. So that is 2 hits on the Germans. I knew it wouldn't destroy them, but it is enough to try to do some damage. So they've got 5, 9, 12 we said, and they've rolled a 3 and 6 because they're tipped, so no hits whatsoever on the Soviets. But that does tip those Soviets, but again it's causing the damage, and the Germans just haven't got the cards to repair it basically. We've got another Soviet counter-attack here going in. This has got 2, 4, 5 for the Soviets against 15, 14, 7 for the Germans because they're tipped. So 5 for the Soviets, 7 for the Germans, 1 and 1. So actually neither of these have caused any hits whatsoever. So there was no armour advantage either in there because there were no hits caused. And then over here, this final one, we got Soviets 2, 4, 6. 2, 4, 7 against the Germans with 5. No artillery support for the Soviets here. So 7 against 5. So the Soviets have scored a 4, which is 1 single hit, which is enough to destroy a German unit. The Germans have scored a 2 with 5. So nothing, no hits. Tipped those Soviets, but it has destroyed another German motorized unit there. So we're over here with the scene of even more heavy fighting. The Soviets are trying to take advantage of the fact that the Germans are tipped. So first of all, we've got these ones. These are going in with 5 against these Germans 1 because they are tipped. So let's just see what comes out of that. 4 and 4. So the Soviets, we said they got 5, so that's 1, so that's enough to destroy those Germans. The Germans have got 1, so they caused nothing. So the Soviets can now move into there and take that position and destroy another German unit. So once again blunting that attack on the Germans left. It's kind of not isolated them yet, but it's put these into a pretty perilous position. Then we've got this Soviet tank counter-attack against the Tigers. Tigers are tipped, so they're going to get half theirs, but the Soviets are on 6 against the Tigers for 13. Half that is 7, so we round up. So let's just see. The Germans have got the armour advantage, so they cause 1 extra hit if they do hit. But let's have a look. So the Germans are on 7 with a 3. The Soviets, we said, are on a 6 with a 3 as well. So Soviets have caused nothing. The Germans, they've caused 1 hit. That's actually 2 hits because of that armour advantage. So 1 and 2. It hasn't destroyed them. Again, I would have hoped that that counter-attack may have done something better. Seems the Germans have really got the advantage over here, really, with those Tigers, I think. It's a bit more of a fight in the centre, a bit more of a stalemate. Then we've got this attack over here. The Germans here have got 3, 6, 9. We're halving that, so that becomes a 5. The Soviets are going in with 2, 4, and 3 is 7, so 7 against 9. But they're just looking to do some damage. They only need to kill 3 units, and the Germans have been wiped out there. Let's have a look. Soviets have hit with 4, Germans have hit with 3. So we've got 4, and we said they've got 2, 4, 7 in total. So that is actually only 1 hit. But the Germans have scored 3, and they had 3, 6, 9, half of that is 5 no hits, so they haven't scored an extra hit, but 1 of their units has been wiped out, so that's the Panzer IV's gone, and then the no hits on there. You can see how the game grinds at a point where you really need fresh units in at this point, I think. The Soviets appeared for a second tactical phase to try to keep up the momentum. These infantry units over here, they moved across in the previous tactical phase. They're now attacking these motorised units here in the open in the centre, just to try to cause some more damage on them, really. They need 5 hits on them. I don't think it's going to happen, but they do have 6, 8 in total. So the best they could do really is 3 hits, which would it would destroy 1 unit, but we'll see. The Germans are tipped, and they are on 8, 10, so they're on 5. So we're actually on, Soviets are on 8 against 5, so 4 and 4. So let's have a look. 8 against 5. Both have caused 2 hits on each other. The Germans haven't been pushed out, but the Soviets are tipped. And as I said, the Soviets here are trying with the momentum to get as many hits in as possible as they can. So we've got a counter-attack out here from the town into the German armour units, and then we've also got a counter-attack from the motorised units into these units here to try to finish some of these off. And I've also moved somebody onto the objective as well, just to hold it if they can. So we'll start over here. We've got 3 and 5. However, they do have, I think they're, no, they don't take anything for this, but they've got 5 against the Germans, 6, but half that is 3. So we've got, they're not being attacked by tanks, they are attacking tanks, so they don't get tank shock. So the Soviets have got a 4, and we said they've got 5, so that is 1 hit. The Germans have got a 3, and they have 3, so they've caused no hits. So it's 1 hit on the Germans, so that has actually destroyed 1 Panther unit, which is kind of what they were looking for to do, basically. Chipping away. Let's tip those. And then we've got this motorised attack over here. So 5 against the Germans, 2, 4, 7, but we half it, it's 4. So 5 against 4. Soviets have rolled a 6, Germans have rolled a 5. So the 6 is, we said 5 is 2 hits, so that's 1, 2, so that's another unit destroyed. And then the Germans have rolled a 5, and we said they had 4, so they've caused 1 hit on the Soviets. So not enough to destroy them, but again, hammering them at least, nothing else. So it's the Germans' op turn, and they've got the Maskirovka, which, as I said before, it's a 1-turn event. In his coming turn, the enemy discards op dice of rolls of 1 to 3, 1, 2, 3. So basically, the Germans are looking for 4s up to get some ops, and they've got none at the moment. This could be bad for them. They've got 3. Ha! So that means that the only have 3, so they're going to have to spend 1 at least to invoke a tactical phase, and I don't think they've probably got enough to do much else either. So they spent their first op, and the Germans are going to try to, well, they've withdrawn their Panthers back because they were in a very delicate state at this point, but they are attacking into the objective here, and then also the Tigers are going to attack against the remains of these Soviet vehicles here. We'll start with the attack on the objective. This is being supported by artillery, so it's 4 plus 3 is 7 in total against a Soviet defense of 2. Let's have a look. Germans have rolled a 5, and we said they've got 7, so that is 2 hits. So that's destroyed that Soviet unit, and the Soviets have rolled. Sorry, they rolled a 4, but yes, they've still destroyed that unit anyway. And the Soviets have rolled a 5, and 0 to 2 is nothing, so no hits. So the Germans have actually taken their first objective. So that was worth doing. It might isolate them, but they've certainly done it. So we're going to see if we can wipe these out now with the Tigers. Tigers are going in with 4 and 4, 8, so 13 in total. They've got the armour advantage as well against 1, 2, 4. Half that, 2. So what do we say? So it was 8, 8, and so 13 against 2. So 18. On a roll of a 2 is 2 hits, so that's destroyed 1 unit and caused hits on another one, and there's 6 with 2. They've caused 1 hit on the Tigers, but the Tigers have caused an extra hit as well, so he said so that was 2 hits, so that becomes 3 hits. So 1, 2, 3, so that wipes out 2 of those Soviet units, but still doesn't break through. They are tenacious, if nothing else. These Tigers are kind of holding up this advance on the left, unfortunately for the Germans. Right, we'll try this German infantry counter-attack over here on the right. They've got 9 plus 3 for their barrage, so 12 against the Soviets. 2, 4, 5. Half that becomes a 3, so 12 against 3. So let's have a look. 4 and 4, so they're both in the same. So the Soviets have scored no hits. The Germans, on the other hand, have scored 2 hits. So that is 2 of those wipes out. So they will take off those motorised units. But it hasn't allowed the Germans to push forward. So they are tipped. But at least they've wiped out 2 more Soviet units. The Soviets are really absorbing the hits here, but the central area, there might be the game changer. But let's just see what happens. We've got the German motorised infantry going in. They are going in with barrage as well. So we've got 3, 6, 8 plus a barrage, 11 against the Soviets. 2, 4, 6. Half that is 3. So what do we say? 11 against 2. Sorry, against 3. 11 against 3. Nothing for the Germans there with a 1, and a 2 for the Soviets. Nothing for them either. So all that's caused is the Germans to tip. They've done nothing else. I would have thought that they'd have broken through there. I was quite surprised at that. We do have the armour attack here from the Panthers and the Panzer IVs. These have got 5 and 5, 14. No artillery support on these ones though. 14 with the armour advantage against 2, 4, 5. Half that is 3. So 14 against 3. So look, Germans have scored 6, Soviets have scored 2. So the Soviets have scored no hits. The Germans have scored, we said 14, didn't we? So 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 hits in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's enough to destroy them. So they have actually wiped that unit out. That means that the German armour is now into that square as well, and it is untipped. So with that in mind, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend a second pair of ops for the Germans to take a second tactical phase, and this time what do? Do we go in against the infantry over there with tank shock, or do we try to go for the let's take out the infantry, because then that will free up these to move across and do something as well. So I'm going to attack here. I've got no other untipped German units apart from these ones here, which I don't want to send them in because they'll probably get destroyed. I could try and get the Tigers over in a further turn, but next turn But let's see, we're going to attack with the tanks into there for the second tactical phase. So they've got 10, 14 against the Soviets, 2, 4, 6, half that, 3, 14 against 3. So 14 is 4 hits, that's enough to wipe them out. 2 for the Soviets is not enough to cause any hits whatsoever. So they have now taken them out. I just don't have enough ops for the Germans now to follow up on that, but they do move into there because they've attacked into there. They took no hits. Oh, so they can't do anything now. They literally cannot do anything. They've got as far as they can go, but they have broken that central line of the Soviet defense at least. So it's the Soviets ops phase. Let's have a look, see what they get. Ones are ignored, of course. I'll re-roll that in a sec because that was cocked, but they've already got 5 there, so I just re-rolled that one. 3, so they've actually got 6 in total. They're not resetting, so that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 they've got because they had 1 from left over. So they're going to spend obviously 1 to activate the phase, and they may do some reorganization as well. So the main Soviet effort in this particular turn is going to be on their right flank. They're attacking these German motorized infantry here with hopefully they're going to be able to roll up their flank and go in there, because they've got enough to spend for a second phase. They're re-attacking into the Tigers as well. I don't think they're going to destroy the Tigers, but they will at least hopefully do some damage. And then finally they're re-attacking against that infantry unit over there on the objective. So we're going to start over there. They've got tank fright as well. So they've got 2. They also reorganised a couple of units here and there as well. So 5 plus 2 is 7 against the Germans 4, but they've got tank shock. So let's see what we've got. 1 for the Soviets is nothing, no hits. The Germans on 4, they got a 7. Which is the 5 there, but they've got tank shocks that brings them down by 1. So all that has served to do is tip those Soviet units, and they haven't actually captured that objective back. So it's still in German hands. Over here, the attack on the Tigers. Don't think this is going to go particularly well, but it's worth doing, I think. So 7 against the Tigers, 4, 8, 12, 6. So 7 against 6. The Tigers have got the armour advantage though. So 6 and a 5, Soviets have got a 6, and we said they got a 7, so that's 2 hits on the Tigers. The Tigers have rolled a 5, and they had 7, we said, didn't we? No, 6, so that is 2 hits, so 3 hits on the Soviets, 2 hits on the Tigers. It is starting to chip away at those Tigers, and they can't reorganise, and we said 3 hits on these, so 1, 2 and 3, but they don't push them out. The Tigers are bloody hard to shift, if nothing else. And then finally we got this attack from the armour, the 76s, Su-76s and T-34s over there into the motorised unit, and they're wanting to go left or right after this to attack a bit further forward. So let's have a look. They've got 2, 4, 7 against 2 for the Germans with tank shock as well. The Germans have got tank shock, so the Germans have got 2, so nothing. Soviets have got a 2, we said they've got 7, so that's nothing as well. So all that's done is cause them to be tipped, and no damage on either side. Second Soviet tactical phase, they're paid for another phase. They're going to attack in here, so with 5 against the Germans 4. They really need to clear this this place over here. I tell you what, they're going to untip that unit as well. They're going to spend an op to do that, and then attack in with those as well. So we've got 4, 7 in total with tank shock against 2 for the Germans. So look, Germans have rolled a 3 with their 2, does nothing. They shift down anyway because of this tank shock. Soviets have scored a 2, and we said they got a 7, so they've scored nothing as well. So they are tipped, and the Germans hold on with dear life on that objective. Okay, over here we got this Soviet infantry unit going in against the motorised units over here. They've got 11 because they're using 2 artillery barrages against 4 because these guys are tipped. They've got 8, it comes down to 4. So look, Soviets have rolled a 1, Germans have rolled a 6. Germans, we said, have got 4, so that's 2 hits on the Soviets. So that wiped out 2 of their units immediately, and the Soviets, they rolled a 1 and we said 11, so that's nothing, not enough. So basically 2 of their units were wiped out in that, and they lost the attack. I was actually at a point then thinking the Germans should give up, but I think after that terrible Soviet showing, I think they're going to fight on. Let's just see what happens. They've got another 6 ops there, so I'll have a look through some of the events, see if they can do any reorganisation of their units. After that incredibly poor showing from the Soviets, the Germans are mounting their own localised counter-attacks now, so they're going to pile their Panthers and Panzer IVs and motorised infantry into here. They are now flanked, so that's going to reduce them. Then they're also piling into here as well to try to reduce that. They've moved forward some infantry up there as well to try and destroy the remains of the Soviet left flank. Then we're going to do some more fighting on the German left flank. Let's have a look. We're starting over here. They have artillery support as well. So we've got 5 and 5 and 10 and plus 3, 13. Germans have got the armour advantage against 7. Half that is 4. So 13 against 4. Let's see what we get. Germans have got a 6 against a 4 for the Soviets. The Soviets, we said, have got 4, so they've caused no damage whatsoever. The Germans have caused 6 plus 14, we said, didn't we? 1, 2, 3, 4 plus the armour advantage, so that's 5. It hasn't wiped out those Soviets, but has given them something to think about. 1, 2, 3 and 4. So that's tipped them and them and them. The Soviets are still tipped, so Germans might get another chance to attack into there. Then we've got the other attack over here. Soviets over there have got 1. Germans have got 3, 3, 3, so that's 9 against 1 with tank shock as well. So the Germans scored a 3. That's enough to destroy the that final Soviet unit there, and the Soviets, they scored a 4 with a 1, no effect. So that's the Germans have taken that square at least, so they will probably be pushing on into a next phase, I think, definitely. Okay, so over here I've moved the Tigers across, and they are going to now hopefully clear this way for the infantry over there that are holding that position. That's the plan. I've also taken a bit of a gamble, pushing in the Panthers in against the remaining Soviet tanks over there. They only need to cause 4 hits and that will wipe them out. They do have the armour advantage, so there's a potential they might do it. It's quite low, but it might do it. They need a 5 or a 6 basically to destroy a couple of those units, but let's just see. They may end up destroying themselves. We're going to start with them. So the Soviets have got 4, half of that is 2, so 3 against 2 for the Germans. So the Germans have scored a 2, no hits. The Soviets have scored a 5, which is half of that, just off doing 1 damage. So neither have taken any damage, but at least it was worth a try. Now the Tigers over here, we've got 6, 10 with tank fright as well, tank shock against these, which have got 3, 5, half of that is 3, so 10 against 3. 10 against 3. Soviets have rolled a 2, that's nothing. Germans have rolled a 2, which is we said 10, so that's only 1 hit, so they've actually only scored 1 hit on them. So Tigers haven't done particularly well in that attack. I would have thought they would have done much better than that again. Just shows you the roll of the dice. The Germans are being aggressive if they can. They basically paid for a second tactical phase, plus they've untipped their armour here, and they're pushing in once again with the motorised unit down here as well. So they've got the armour advantage. They are also flanking as well, so they get a tip up. They against tipped Soviet units. So the Soviets have got 2. The Germans have got 12, no artillery support this time, with that flank and armour advantage. So let's have a look. This time we said the Soviets have got 2, so they start with 3, nothing, no effect. Germans are on a 4, and we said they've got a 12, so that starts there with 2 hits, but they are also flanking, so that goes up 1, so that's actually 3 hits. So that isn't enough to wipe. Oh no, because they've got the armour advantage, so another hit is scored as well, so it's actually 4 hits, completely wipes out that Soviet space there and allows the Germans to take that second objective. Now if they hold that until the end of the next turn, they will win the game. So they've moved in, they've moved in, they've moved in. They don't have enough ops now to carry on that attack, unfortunately. Otherwise they could have gone forward there, but it is what it is. And then we've got two attacks over here. So we're trying with the motorised infantry to overrun their artillery. So basically it's going to be a 3 against a 1. So let's just do that quickly. We've got a 2 for the Soviets, nothing. The Germans, they have scored nothing as well. They needed a 6 really there or above, 5 or a 6. So that's just knocked them. But at least they're attacking. They're threatening the Soviet artillery at this point. Then we've got these 369 with artillery as well. No, sorry, yes, they have got artillery. So 12 against 1. So I think they only need to score 1 hit here. Let's have a look. Oh, they've only rolled a 1. Oh, but they've got it. 12. They just needed that. So 1 hit. Soviets have scored 2, so no hits on from the Soviets. That has wiped out that unit as well. So that's destroyed the Soviet left flank. These then move in there. They take no hits themselves. But that was close. That was very close. Right, let's see what the Soviets get for their ops. Not great. They've only got 3 this turn, so that is not brilliant. So they won't be playing anything, so they're going to first of all get that first tactical phase in at least, if nothing else. So the Soviets have kind of withdrawn a little bit over on their left flank because they've literally only got 1 infantry unit and 2 artillery units left. So I think the Germans are pretty much won this game. But let's just see if the Soviets can do any counter-attacking. First of all, they've got motorised infantry and their T-76s are going in against the objective again over here. So 2, 4, 6 in total with tank fright against 4 for the Germans. So 2 and 2. Neither of them have caused any injuries, anything at all there. They needed much higher than that. They are battered at this point. Hopefully those Tigers will be able to jump in for the Germans in the next turn, but we'll see. Anyway, we've got this attack here. This is worth 4 against the Panthers 3. Half that becomes a 2, but the Panther does have the armour advantage. So let's have a look. But they've only rolled a 1, so no hits from the Panthers. The Soviets, we said they've got 1, 2, 4, so they've actually caused 2 hits on the Panthers, so that's destroyed the Panthers. So that means they move forward. They will then, what we will do then is we will then evoke for the cost of 2 more ops, their final ops. They will then evoke a second tactical phase, which they will then attack into the Tigers over here. I think they'll move the artillery back over on the left flank. I'll do that off camera, but they'll attack there, and then they will also attack with these 2 infantry here as well to try and sweep off this this German flank if they can. So we're going to start here. The 2 infantry against the 2 infantry over there, so 4 against 4. These nothing else is there. Oh no, sorry, 5 against 4 for the Soviets. Soviets have rolled a 1, Germans have rolled a 1. No hits whatsoever. So all that does is snag. They can't, if they needed to take this back this turn, otherwise the Germans are going to win anyway, because the Germans are now in control of 3 of the 5 objectives in total, which is what they needed. Over here, let's see how they do against the Tigers. Tigers have got 6, 10, half that is 5. They have the armour advantage though, but the Soviets have got 4 against 5. Soviets have rolled a 6 though. 4 is 2 hits on the Tigers. The Tigers have rolled a 3, which we said they got 4. They don't have any, there's no hits on there. So 2 hits on the Tigers, so that's going to destroy 1 Tiger unit and also this one here, but then that will tip the Soviets and they can't do anything else. That ends the turn, and I said if the Germans were in possession of 2 of the objectives by the end of the turn, then they win. They currently are. So I'll show you the table and the situation at the end of the game. So this is the table looking across from the German point of view. So on their left flank we've still got a couple of units of Tigers left. The Panthers and the Panzer IVs were destroyed. However, the Soviet T-34s and 76s are still kicking around, but I don't think they'd last very long. They'd only take a few more hits, and I think those Tigers will probably finish them off. The Germans did capture this objective. up here in the north of the sector, which was useful because the Soviets just could not get them back off it. They should have really isolated them, but they didn't really think it was more a case of trying to get them off the objective. The other thing over here, the Germans completely captured this central objective after a massive grinding fight in the centre. And if you remember, there was tons of Soviet infantry here. They have now been completely cleared off. The last remaining one is back here on the objective. They've fallen back there with their artillery, but they are currently being threatened by German panzers and also motorised infantry, as is the final Soviet artillery piece over there as well on their left flank. So basically, had that point fallen over here anyway, the areas down in the southern sector of this particular battle would have fallen quite easily. All the Germans had to do was just push through a couple of units there, and they would have taken them out completely. So, a great game. I hope you've enjoyed that. I've obviously got quite a few things wrong. I kept forgetting when stuff was tipped. I don't think it changed the game too much either way. It's a great game, Rommel. There are quite a few things in it that I would change. Just things like not allowing everything to move or everything to attack in a turn, and you're having to spend ops to do it. You probably have to increase the amount of ops that you've got in a turn, a little bit more like O group. But you know, I'm talking post O group at this point, you know what I mean. But yes, I think it's still a great game. I like the grid system. I like all grid system games. Really, they really work. They really add something to it. It just stops arguments if nothing else, and you know exactly where your units are. This is something that I'm thinking maybe this would actually work very well for the First World War. At the next level up from square bashing, you know, at this kind of level of the First World War, would be interesting to do in Rommel. Anyway, I do hope you've enjoyed this game. If you have, let me know in the comments. I'm going to come back to Rommel because I've forgotten how much I enjoyed playing it. So I will be playing some more Rommel at some point in the future. Not sure what or when, but keep an eye out for it, and you'll see some more on the channel. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. It's all very much appreciated. And if you want to, check out my Patreon and also channel membership, and I'll see you in the next Storm of Steel video.